Welcome and welcome back. It's Rochelle Peterson-Ansari. Welcome back to Rooted to Thrive, conversations that elevate our humanity podcast. Today, I have a guest who I've been waiting for a long while. Actually, since we started the podcast more than a year ago. Finally, we have Carolyn Harrison, founder and executive producer of Good Light Productions, LLC. Carolyn is a 30-year theater arts professional, vocational minister for 15 years, and the parent of 3 young adults who are actually pursuing the lives that they dreamed of living, which is powerful. It's a statement about her as well. Yes, so Carolyn and we met at Bucknell University at ages 16, and she may have been 17 years old at the time. We shared the highs and lows of college life, being two of about 25 Black students and a few other students of color at the university in the mid to late 80s. We grew close through living in 7th Street House, and that was the African American Studies House for Women. We served in student organizations like the Minority Student Union, NAACP chapter on campus, did all those things together. But here's something really important about her. As a theater major, Carolyn made a choice to focus on being a director when opportunities for her to act in major theater productions were limited to roles as servants. Her decision created space for people like me and other Black students on campus to act and have lead roles at the time. And our ultimate bond came through pledging Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Yes, Carolyn is my line sister.
Okay.
Yes, Carolyn, I am honored to have this conversation with you. How you doing today?
I am blessed and highly favored to be sharing the room and the mic with you today, Sands. I'm so grateful for you.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful introduction. You taking me back through some memories, sis.
Mhm. Did some work together. We did some work together on campus. Yeah.
Yes.
And helped
Hmm.
each other up.
That's right. That's right. What
Yeah.
sisters do, and still we're still on this human journey together,
Help.
uh, being support for one another, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't seem to matter how long the time between when we talk. It's always like I just spoke to you.
That's right. Yeah, same here.
Mm.
I am so excited about our conversation today, talking about the long-term impact of developmental trauma and healing strategies. It is so important for our listeners. A lot of people will say it's so important today. I think it was always important.
Yes, indeed.
But more of the people in the public understand and are talking about it. But
Hmm.
before we explore trauma and healing, just share a little bit about your background. Who is Carolyn Harrison?
Wow, I love that invitation. It gives me an opportunity to reflect on all the stories that have shaped me.
Mm,
Um, so I am the great granddaughter of Raleigh and Elsie Mae Williams, the granddaughter of Mary and George Ball, the daughter of Loretta Ball and Alexander Williams, by way of North Carolina, through the Turks and Caicos Islands, through Philadelphia. And I am the mother of Antonia and Athena and Caleb, the wife of Eric. I am the elder in my local church community. I'm the pastoral care director at an agency for adolescent boys experiencing a great deal of trauma. And above all of that, I am the beloved daughter of the Most High God. So all of those things make up who I am.
it's phenomenal. And
Mm.
I'm stuck on you're an elder somewhere.
I am. I have arrived at the season of life where I have joined the elders, and I'm a part of a really wonderful community in the Bronx, the Fordham Manor Church, where I serve as an ordained elder on the
Mm,
board there.
fantastic, fantastic.
Mm,
Well, can you tell us? I know the name of your company, but I don't think I ever really talked to you about this.
okay.
I'm curious about what inspired the name Good Light Productions, and how does
Yeah.
light connect to the healing work we'll talk about today?
So good. Yes. So it was 1993, yeah, it was October 1993. I had just become the mother of Antonia in Spokane, Washington. And just prior to that, I had spent, the last 7 to 10 years focusing solely on theater. I did a lot of freelance work in New York City and had begun to collect a portfolio of my work as a director. And while I was recovering from bringing life into the world, I had a conversation with the God of my understanding about, what comes next? How do I continue to create theater as I help develop the life of this little girl? And Spirit said, um, you're going to found a company, and this is what you call it. Just like that.
Hmm.
It will be called Good Light Productions, as in, let there be light, and there was light, and it was good. And so from 1993 until about 2018 or 20, no, actually 2015, every time I produced theater or directed something or created, some kind of theater programming, it would go under the banner of Good Light Productions. I had not formalized the company until 2018, and I got this second nudge that said, go, now is the time. And I was in my second graduate school program in seminary, pursuing a master's of divinity. And doing, as a part of that program, we were required to review our own spiritual formation. That is, how we came to be formed as human beings having these spiritual experiences, or as spiritual beings having these human experiences. And really got clear about some of the mother wounds that I had been carrying around in my body, mind, and soul from when my mother was a teen mom and brought me into the world. I was only aware at a particular level until I began to dive. I had this invitation, go deeper, like interrogate those stories you inherited about your life. Ask some different questions, ask some different people about what is really true about your life. Uh, and so when I began to do that work, it became more and more clear to me that those wounds were asking for permission to receive sunlight on them, to receive the healing light on them so that I could be healed. What resulted from that work was the solo show that I just recently finished performing called Precious Metals, Beauty and Brokenness. That was 2015 or 2016. I did a stage reading of the piece just to get some feedback from audience members. And every time I produced that work, without fail, people would come up to me afterward and say, I share part of that story. I see myself in that particular character. I had a grandmother like that. And, what it really encouraged me, it emboldened me to continue developing the piece. I produced it twice as an ensemble production with multiple women. And then finally, over the last year, the invitation to me was, this is your story. These are, a combination of some of your experiences and borrowed experiences. And now you need to be the vehicle through which this story is told. So I performed it in March last spring, which you were a witness to. And then I was invited to come back to Bucknell University and to stage it, the solo piece, as a part of the 150 years of Black excellence at Bucknell, which was a huge honor for me. It was a full circle moment to come back to the place where my theater education started and was developed, and now to come back and to encourage this next generation of students and theater professionals. It's sort of like being a pioneer. I've been a pioneer for the last 40 years. I've cleared some path. I've cleared some brush. I've built some houses. I've built some prayer spaces in community. And now I'm going back to tell these young people, hey, look, it doesn't have to be so hard for you. Let me shine some light for you on the path that you're taking. There is some level ground here. So it's the Sankofa, I'm turning back to
Yes,
help.
indeed, indeed. Well, that is phenomenal. And I don't know what greater thing that we could do in our lives, but to take all that we've gathered and go back as our ancestors taught us, you
Hmm.
know?
That's right.
Yeah, especially the ancestors, our African ancestors, whether
Hmm.
we were able to touch and feel them or not, was
That's
bred,
exactly right.
right? It was bred in our communities.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
so Good Light Productions, the mission is to create access and opportunities to tell stories that have been in the dark too long.
Mm,
In particular, for underrepresented artists, for Black and Brown creatives, of any season of life. We have our younger generation of theater makers coming up, and we have some seasoned professionals, some men or women who have done all the things that they were supposed to do. And there was a seed in them to create something for the stage. I'm
mhm.
helping them too. I'm saying, there's space for you too, because I know you have some stories that have been in the dark far too long, and now let me help you develop and present those.
Yes, yes. And your story, interestingly enough, well, it's probably because of your story, you have talked very explicitly about the impact of developmental trauma,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And, today's episode is called Gathering Myself Toward Wholeness,
Hmm.
countering the long term impact of developmental trauma. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. And so gathering myself is it's a training protocol that I've been developing sort of in parallel with the development of the solo piece. It was actually the process that I used to curate some of the stories in my life, some of my stories and stories of people I met through chance encounters, like on the subway train or uh, on the corner, specifically women. Um, Ear hustling, it standing in line. And but I recognize some of our shared humanity. And so what I did was created this kind of choreo poem to honor them as I was attempting to honor my mother's story. And so some of the developmental trauma, let me just first define developmental trauma as those traumatic experiences that happen to us in utero and throughout. Trauma
Mm,
can occur in utero, and the biochemical processes that happen to us when our mothers are carrying us, those things come through the amniotic fluid into our nervous system. We can come here traumatized.
mm,
And trauma are the bad things that happen to us, as well as the good things that didn't happen to
mm,
us. And so that's where, and my learning, I'm a lifelong learner. My learning around this issue continues through a program with the Embody Lab, where I'm very curious and curious about the science of it, as well as um, the cognitive, emotional pieces of it. I was never more interested in science than I am now because I'm learning that the brain is plastic and
Mhm,
that new neural pathways can be created,
mhm, mhm,
right? And so that combined with my creative interrogation is teaching me that those things that were interrupted in me in utero because my mother was like carrying me around for 9 months, traumatized because her father said she could not come home with a baby. She was 16 years old, pregnant at 15, gave birth at 16, dependent on these parents. Who and the father who was abusive. So she's in dealing with domestic violence, all of
mhm,
those things. All of that impacted my life before I took one breath. And so my uh, my nervous system was taxed and then further taxed when I was separated from my family for the first 2 years of my life in a group home. I have only one sort of glimmering recall of that, and that is being held by someone gently rubbing my cheek. That is the only pre-verbal memory I have. And through my interrogation of my mother's story, it is becoming more and more clear that while my mother was waiting for 3 days in the hospital about her father's decision, she nursed me. I did not know until last year that I was nursed by my
mhm,
mother.
mhm. Wow.
And nursing, when women are able to bond in that way in the earliest hours of a child's life, creates a connection. And I believe that those 3 days when my mother had a chance to nurse me began some of the healing, the repair work of
Mhm,
my nervous system, which created some sense of resilience in me.
mhm. Okay. Yeah, I get that.
So that's a long story about
That's
like this,
the gathering.
the
Yeah, the
gathering.
gathering process. Yeah, and I'm glad you already explained what you mean by developmental trauma,
Mhm.
right? I was curious because you've spoken about the difference between benign neglect and direct trauma. How would you
Mhm.
describe these in everyday terms? And why is it
Mhm.
important for people to recognize both of them?
So, direct trauma is, like physical abuse, um, not attending to the basic everyday needs of a child.
Mhm,
Uh, versus benign neglect is, I sometimes see um, people on the train, women with their children, and the parent, not just women, the parent or the caregiver is earpods in, back turned, doing whatever, and the child is tugging on them. Hey, look at
mhm,
this. Mommy, look at this. I had this one experience in particular. It was the end of the school day. The was with the child, and this boy was just running over with joy. And the look on the parent's face was consternation. She had obviously had a hard day, but this child could not get her attention. And so I dared, something that I would not recommend, I dared to engage with this little boy. And I began to play I spy with my little eye, and we went through the rainbow. And he was so delighted to to have some adult's attention, and he began to play with me. By the time they got on the train, the mother noticed what the boy needed, and she began to engage with him. And I got on a different car to leave them to it. Uh,
Okay.
but that was my revolutionary act for the day, to help
Mhm,
that mother connect with that child in that moment because the moments are so precious. We don't get them back. And we're
Hmm.
teaching our children, the children that we become responsible for, we're teaching them some things about how important they are, how valuable they are, all of the stuff. And benign, we don't, I am guilty of having benignly neglected my children for a season when I was single parenting. I was so tired. I was working 15 hours a day. The best I could do was to make sure they stayed housed and clothed and fed and safe. But when we got home, I went to my room, I shut the door, and I passed out. That's neglect. And I have since had to double back, desired to double back to make amends to my adult children for the season of life when I just didn't have any more than what I had. And they are gracious human beings. My oldest daughter said to me recently, "Mom, you say sorry for that every time I see you. It's okay." I was like, I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure you know so that it ends with this generation. So should grandchildren come, they have a new way of becoming attentive, intentional, loving parents.
Yeah, and that's where we want people to be on. And unfortunately, right, it can happen in a two-parent home. It can happen in a home where there's multiple generations of adults in the home.
Hmm.
This kind of sense of benign neglect. And that's the
Hmm.
thing many of us don't talk about as much, right? There's just
Hmm.
like these sound bites about it. And so
Hmm.
today, I hope we do have a real good opportunity to dig a little deeper into that. When you talked about showing the child that they matter, right? That's the language I used in terms of something that got locked in my body over the years, and that was a sense of not mattering more than other people.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so there was some sense of mattering, of course, right? And this is
Hmm.
all not pointed toward my family, um, but connected to some trauma, connected to like an incident and not feeling safe in certain circumstances over time, that locked into my adult body.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right. That's
yeah.
right.
It was not put placed there intentionally by
That's right.
anyone, but it takes intention to
To
move,
heal it.
to heal it, to remove, to
Hmm.
overcome,
Hmm.
etc.
Hmm.
So many people who have experienced early neglect or trauma still hold it, right? And some people hold a sense of something's wrong with me. How can we begin to reframe that self perception to honor our inherent dignity?
No, that's such a good question. Developmental trauma shapes everything, our bodies, our breath, our reflexes, our ability to connect to the way we show up in the world. Um, the things that were interrupted, like our sense of safety, like the world is a safe place, that we belong in it, that we are attuned to other people who are meaningful in our lives. And so, in terms of my own story, for many years, I was seeking that in romantic relationships, trying to fix something that I intuited was missing and I thought could be addressed in a romantic relationship, which only created more issues, right? Because
Mm.
other those late adolescent young men, they were not equipped themselves. So, um, but one of the questions we can ask, and I think there's a whole like thought leadership around this, not what's wrong with me, but what happened to me?
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
happened to me? Where's the root system of this thing? And so what gathering myself does is part of the process is using photographs. Photographs tell an incredible story, and if we interrogate the photos long enough, it will reveal more than what we've been carrying around. And this is what I mean. So, one of the key stories of my life was about birthday parties and celebrations. I didn't think I deserved to be celebrated because one of the birthday parties I had when I was 11 years old, I was a new girl in the school, having been displaced from one home to another. I invited my entire sixth grade class. And for years, the story I told myself about that was only one person showed up. This
Uh,
boy named Leroy, who I had a huge crush on, even in sixth grade. I'm trying to get this boy to make me feel like I matter. Well, he came. I have a January birthday. He came to my grandmother's house in the snow. I have a picture that one of my aunts gave me of that birthday party. Leroy was, in fact, there. But when I zoom, and all my boy cousins, for years, I said they ruined my birthday party. That's why nobody came. They were having a ball, they were dancing. When I zoomed in, I noticed at the table at this birthday party, two girls. My best friend from my block, Benet Donnell. I had no recollection at all that Benet was there. And Wanda Miles, who is actually a soror, I ran into her at a convention last summer. Wanda Miles, Benet Donnell were at my birthday party saying to me, "We see you. You deserve to be celebrated." That shifted the entire narrative. That shifted what had gotten locked into my disordered emotional networking. And it began, new things were happening. It's like, oh, oh. And so it's a practice now. It's a spiritual practice. Celebrating my birthday happens all month.
okay, yes.
And and I invite whoever wants to come on, because we're celebrating full on, because I am now telling a new story about my inherent value as a human being, making
Mm,
another run around the sun.
yes, telling a new story
Hmm.
about who you are as a human being.
Hmm.
And I'm glad you even mentioned the term story. How does storytelling or creative expression help people reconnect with their humanity when trauma has fragmented that sense of self?
Great question. We are storytelling people. Like, that's how the world continues to exist, through the reflection on and the telling of how we came to be. Before there were books, human beings gathered around light, firelight, flashlight, candlelight, whatever, gathered around light and told the story about the day's events, that really scary moment with that prey, that really challenging conversation. We tell stories about things to make sense of them. And this is what storytelling does. And on the stage, we have a chance to, as audience members, to witness something that is a shared human issue. That's why people go to the theater. We go to the theater, we come together with strangers, and we sit in the dark around this light, and we see, what does it mean for us and for them to be human beings together on the planet today? And what did it mean centuries ago in the case of watching a period piece? Or and what does what happened then and there mean for us here and now? And how can we make more sense of where we are here and now? Stories are essential. When we stop telling stories, part of us will die. When we stop reflecting on stories and happenings to gather meaning, part of us will die. We must talk about it. We must reflect it back to one another. Uh, I was recently at a show called The Brothers' Size. Um, and it only had a short run. And the there are three characters. The gist of the story is what happens when our loved ones come home from being incarcerated, how we continue to do damage to them, and how we fiercely love them. Like, and both of those things can exist. But one of the main actors was Andre Holland, the brother from Moonlighting.
Mm,
I it was such a breathtaking visual of this love between siblings, these brothers whose lives were connected by shared trauma,
mm,
right? They lost their mother and their father, and the older brother, Andre Holland's character, became, he made himself responsible for caring for the younger brother who ends up being incarcerated. And Andre Holland's character says, my only reason for living was to make sure you stayed safe.
mm.
And so a lot of that was surrounding how he also said, don't fuck up again. Don't go back to jail. Right. It ends, uh, this is a spoiler alert. He does, he makes an error. Um, And the older brother has to decide, I love you enough that I'm going to help you get away from this. You take all, this is all the money I have in the world. This is my truck, the only means of transportation. You get in that and you keep driving and don't stop till you're free. Oh,
Mm, mm.
that kind of storytelling, you know, and I think I have some relatives who have been justice involved, incarcerated. I'm serving adolescent boys now who are justice involved. It just broke me open to what's possible in the midst of that trauma and how to
Yeah.
love them to life.
Love them to life. And I mean, you talked about a story, right, where two brothers, one feeling a responsibility to the other, kind of gave his everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's one thing one
Mm-hmm.
could do, but
Mm-hmm.
there's I'm sure many other things in that space of possibility
Mm-hmm.
that people can do to support people who are living out their trauma in ways that don't serve them well.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So, yeah, so talk to us a little more about how does community and collective storytelling deepen healing?
Yeah, well, it shows you that you matter. Things are
Mm,
not always what they seem. You know, even
mm,
people who are living out um, the residuals of their trauma impacted lives can
mm,
be, it can be challenging. You know, their behavior is erratic because of their hyper vigilance and their lack of trust. They've been failed by multiple people in multiple times of their lives. And so they're armored. But leaning into being curious about, like, tell me, what is your earliest recollection of having been held tenderly in a non-sexual way? Tell me your earliest memory of having your caregiver's undivided face-to-face attention. Tell me about the last time you laughed so hard you cried. Right? Asking, being curious about and asking questions, helping that person to pause, to slow down, to reconnect with their breathing, to consider, wait, there are multiple ways I can respond to this thing that has just triggered me and dysregulated me. I don't have to throw shit at the wall and break things or
mm,
scream or, right?
mhm,
Um, but it's the process of storytelling and inviting another person to tell their story
mhm,
helps with regulating, right? Um, the anatomical response to trauma um, comes through these familiar terms, fight, flight, or freeze.
mhm,
Um, if you get triggered, depending on how you're made, you might want to fight, you might want to throw up hands on somebody, right? Or you might want to get out of there as quickly and go as far as you can. And sometimes you're just paralyzed, like everything's shutting down. All of those are responses to what the trauma is, and we're not stuck there.
Right.
Story, inviting the telling of a story, reflecting on it helps us to reconnect to the wiring, the nervous system that's saying, I don't know what to do with what has just happened to me or what happened to me 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I had an encounter recently where I got triggered and I responded to that triggering in a way that was about something that happened 20 years ago to me. I didn't even know it was still in my body.
Yeah. Mhm.
It was mind-blowing and I was stuck in freeze. I was in that place like, what is happening? And my
Right.
body was saying to me, beloved, there's more healing required here. Are you ready? Are
Right.
you interested? We can heal that thing.
That's powerful. Thank you. I hear a theme of connection and reconnection, from reconnection to the nervous system, reconnection to memories that can reveal the truth of a thing, can
Mhm.
help you on your journey toward healing. But
Absolutely.
what was interesting about how you approach that is you talked about the questions that you, as another person witnessing someone who might not be regulated, somebody dysregulated at the time, or
Hmm.
in angst, shutting down, how you, as the other, could support that person by being curious and helping them remember to pause,
Hmm. Hmm.
reconnect. Oh, yeah, reconnection to our breathing,
Hmm.
is what you
Hmm.
said as well. So
Hmm.
there is a theme of reconnection,
That's
right? Like
right.
of something that was whole in the first place.
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
And we
That's
just
right.
getting in the cracks and crevices
That's right.
to restore wholeness.
That's right. That's so beautifully
Mm.
restated. Thank you for reflecting that back.
Mhm.
Breathing is so important. I've been in a therapeutic relationship with a sister um, who I met her during one of the first hurricanes in New York City. And I think I was working full time, single parenting, and in grad school. And I noticed that my breathing it was only chest deep. I
Mm.
knew something was wrong. I knew something was not right. And she came into the faith community to lead a workshop on breathing through um, challenging circumstances. So at the end, I was like, hey, I'd love to hear more or sit with you more about this idea of breathing because I can't breathe.
Mm.
I can't access my breathing.
Mhm.
And over I guess it's been maybe 15 years now, she has helped to equip me with belly breathing. Like,
Mhm.
because it's not like it comes back. We sometimes go back to the same way of showing up in the world. But now I notice, like, oh, something's wrong with how I'm breathing here. Let's get quiet. Let's center down. And let's connect to what is really whole, who I really, my truest self. And it starts with the breath.
Yes. Yes, indeed. The breath is very special. It
That's
is
right. That's right.
special in our
Mm,
lives.
hmm.
That's powerful. Well, thank you for that. I'm thinking about someone who's listening who might need some help recognizing signs of unresolved developmental trauma and maybe having difficulty trusting, as you mentioned, perfectionism, emotional numbness, even. What are the first gentle steps they can take toward healing?
Mm,
Well, you have mentioned photographs,
yeah.
looking back.
Yeah. Um, Really, the first gentle noticing is
Mhm.
um, i- the it's like it's like a nudge. It's an emotional nudge. And if you are hypervigilant, if you are type A, if you're oldest child, if all the stuff, if you're a black woman,
Mm,
if you a
talk
bl-
about it.
if you're a black woman trying to make sense of this world you're living in, we are sometimes want to ignore those nudges.
Mm,
And those nudges are spirit whispers saying something's not right.
mm,
Not judging it,
okay.
agreeing with, yep, something's not right. And then
Mm,
asking, please say more.
mm,
Help me understand what is not right. And for some people, it's journaling it out, writing it out, right? Getting in a quiet place and longhand, just writing until the writing stops. And spirit will reveal what it is you are sensing in the nudge. The second thing, for some people who are not journalers, being in nature might help. Take a long walk. Let the sunlight beam on your face and keep walking until you are tired. In the silence, what is not right will rise to the surface. And here's again the key: don't judge it.
mm,
Sometimes we will say, "Oh, well, I shouldn't." Well, other people got it. Well, all this. Don't judge it. Let be what is be.
mm,
A third thing is invite a trusted friend to listen, to hear you into talking it out. A part of my vocational work in ministry is as a spiritual director, and spiritual directors are not therapists. We don't problem solve. We don't give advice. We're not pastors. We don't should on you.
mm,
We companion you and help you to notice the presence and action of the God of your understanding at work in your life, and to piece together what might these nudges mean? Where might there be an invitation for me to move forward? So those are just three things that come to the front of mind.
That is powerful, powerful first steps.
Mhm.
Listen to the nudge, right? Like when you know something's not right, and then
Mhm.
ask, interrogate it, ask questions of it. Tell
Mhm.
me more. You sound like
Mhm.
it's in a coaching session. I love it. This is right up my alley, right? Like
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and to invite a friend who is trusted. And I do want people to really take that to heart. Someone you really, really know
Mhm.
will
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
listen,
That's right. That's
will
right.
just judge, not someone who you might call them your best friend, but they're not the best friend for everything.
That's right. That's wisdom. That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
be wise about that person you invite
That's right. Yeah.
in. And they may not be the people who are typical in your life.
That's right.
Okay. Some
Yeah.
people haven't met that person yet.
That's right. That's right. I like to call them my chorus of support. I
Yes.
I have a chorus of support, and they
Mhm.
all they all sing different parts of the harmony for my life.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And listen, this is pretty important. Just talking to you about this now, I remember, someone told me something major was getting ready to happen in their life, right?
Mhm.
Um, a severing in a relationship, that they had. And my first reaction was wanting to ask more questions, but what immediately came up, and this came with practice, folks,
Mhm.
was, is this what this person needs?
Mhm.
Right? Because pulling people to answer questions about, whatever they shared with you,
Mhm.
about you and your curiosity,
That's right.
is not for help.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's wisdom.
Yeah. And
Mm,
so, and we understand we've been in practice doing, different kinds of work. Well,
mhm,
it's similar work, but different, right?
mhm, mhm,
My work is not pastoral,
mhm,
although it is my ministry.
mhm,
And, I would be called a coach.
mhm, mhm,
Yes.
mhm,
And Carolyn is a spiritual director. So we have some experience with this almost daily,
mhm, mhm,
right? So, not to sound like we're on soapboxes about it, but we
mhm.
do know that many people kind of need the reminder
That's right.
and they
That's right.
need, to slow down, to
Mhm,
think clearly, to create a space for healing.
mhm.
And ultimately, in my opinion, to just live the life that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We come here with desires and longings as human beings. And along the way, some of those things get bumped and bruised and wounded, and we begin to shrink and live a
Mhm.
life that is smaller than the one we were brought here to live.
Yes.
And the work you and I are doing, Rochelle, is about helping people to live the fullest, truest version of their lives.
That's right. That's
The,
right.
the planet will be well served if we all do that.
hmm And we are loved ones, we are mentors, we are leaders, right?
Mhm,
And we are helping to uphold other people's human dignity in our work as well, right?
mhm,
When we are still living, not living from wounded places, but still on here healing journeys of our own. You heard Carolyn say it, right? You just said that. You
mhm.
you found something that was in there. She
That's
didn't
right.
even know was still in there
Didn't
until
know.
right until
Yeah.
a situation arises.
Hmm.
So who knows? We may not ever be totally like the absence of these triggers might not ever be a part of our lives, right? While
Hmm.
we're breathing here on
That's right.
earth.
That's right.
Oh, but we can live contently. We can live in
Hmm.
contentment.
Hmm. That's a fact.
Yes,
Hmm.
indeed.
Hmm.
Oh, Carolyn, this if you have any last words you want to share with everyone before we go,
Mm.
any advice, a resource, just
Yeah. I would just say, um, honor the story that is yours. Your
mhm,
story matters
mhm,
and it's worth telling. And every time you tell it, however you tell it, another person gets delivered.
mm. Yes, I felt that.
Hmm.
However you tell it, another person gets delivered.
Hmm.
Carolyn, thank you so much for spending time with me
Uh,
and the Rooted to Thrive tribe.
all right.
I am so inspired
Mm.
and ready to integrate some ways to gather myself
All right now.
after talking to you. Yes, working on a
Yes.
book chapter. I was like, yeah, I see you. Photos. Yes, I love it. Tell us how people can find you after this.
Hmm.
Mm,
Thank first I want to say thank you, beloved. The the inspiration is mutual. You are just an incredible human being, and I am so grateful we get to share this journey together. Uh, Folks are able to find me at goodlightproductions.com.
mhm,
Um, I am working on launching Gathering Myself as a separate website. So that will be linked to Good Light Productions since it's a part of the work that will be coming. But the first point of contact is goodlightproductions.com. You can sign up for our newsletter, and I will have a way to be in touch with you.
Fantastic.
Mm.
And I want to just say to the Rooted to Thrive tribe and anyone who has stopped by, thank you. And
Yes,
thank
yes.
you for listening to the end. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and share this episode. I deeply appreciate everyone who takes the time to listen to this podcast. I will be here waiting to welcome you back the next time on Rooted to Thrive. Thank you.